The Conjuring, a 2013 American supernatural horror film directed by James Wan. The film follows the Perron family who move into a new house where it's not long before some seriously scary activity starts going on. An absolute horror masterpiece, and in my opinion, it's one of the most scariest horror movies within the last decade. It's one of those rare horror films where everything is just perfect. I can even remember the trailers before the movie even came out, causing a lot of hype in the horror community, which can sometimes backfire when the audience have these high expectations, but this movie lived up to all the hype and then some. It's one of the few horror movies that actually made me scream out loud. So get yourselves comfy and let's take a look at 10 moments from the 2013 horror movie The Conjuring. Number 10. The opening scene. As soon as the movie begins, we are first introduced to one of the most scariest looking dolls in cinema history, Annabelle. Some students have come to see Ed and Lorraine Warren, telling them that they are being haunted by Annabelle. We then get a flashback scene where the students come home, only to find a note on the doorstep asking if you missed me, and Annabelle is sitting in the corridor with a red crayon in her hand. When the students go in, there is red crayon drawn all over the walls and the ceiling, and there are scratch marks on all the photo frames. The students throw Annabelle out into the bin, but it's not long before she's back, banging on the door in the middle of the night, and when one of the girls opens the door, another note is left on the doorstep saying, "Miss me." The students are understandably freaked out, I mean I would be as well, and Lorraine tells the students the horrifying news, that this thing that's attached to Annabelle isn't a ghost, but something inhuman, something demonic, something that wanted to get inside of you. It's a really great creepy opening scene that has you hooked almost immediately, but of course this is just the calm before the storm. Number 9. Hide and clap. Mother Carolyn and daughter April decide to play a game of hide and clap while the rest of the family are out of the house. So Carolyn puts a blindfold over her eyes and gives April a chance to hide. Carolyn then walks slowly out of the bedroom and into the hallway, which, by the way, this game kind of looks dangerous, playing at the top of a stairway balcony with a blindfold on. Anyway, Carolyn feels her way down the wall and ends up in one of the girls' bedrooms, and this bedroom has that creepy wardrobe. All of a sudden the wardrobe doors open and Carolyn thinks it's April. She asks April to clap her hands, and all of a sudden these two creepy hands come out of the wardrobe and clap. Carolyn thinks that she's found April's hiding place, and she starts to walk down to the wardrobe and starts feeling around for April, and the whole time we can hear someone in the wardrobe breathing. It isn't until when April comes running into the room that Carolyn takes off her blindfold, all confused when April said that she was hiding in another bedroom. But Carolyn is positive that she heard someone or something clapping in the wardrobe. Number 8. There's someone behind the door. The intense levels rise to about 100 now in our next spot. Christine is sleeping in her bedroom with sister Nancy when something starts pulling at Christine's feet and waking her up. At first, Christine thinks it's Nancy playing a joke, but then all of a sudden Christine's foot is given a really hard pull and is almost pulled out of bed. Christine at this point is fully awake and really creeped out at what's just happened. She checks under her bed to see if anyone is hiding under there, but then she notices the bedroom door creeping and moving when she looks up, and you almost see a shadow pan across the doorway. Christine sees something behind the door and is literally terrified. She calls over to Nancy to wake her up, where Christine tells her that there's someone standing behind the bedroom door and is looking right at them. Nancy gets out of bed to check behind the door and tells Christine that no one is there, and then Christine's face changes and she says to Nancy that it's standing right behind you. All of a sudden, the bedroom door slams shut and the girls scream. Parents Roger and Carolyn come running in to see what's going on, and Christine tells them that there was someone else in the bedroom and that it talked to her, saying that it wants her and her family dead. It's a really great scene, and it's one of those moments where it's left to your imagination of what's actually behind that bedroom door, because we don't actually see anything. We just listen to Christine's description, which makes it 10 times more scarier. Number 7, the basement clap. After Roger goes out to do a job, Carolyn and the girls are left at home alone. Carolyn is in her bedroom looking at some bruises that keep appearing on her body, and she hears some giggling coming from one of the girls' bedrooms, so she goes to take a look, telling them that they should all be in bed. But when Carolyn checks everyone, all the daughters are sleeping. All of a sudden there's an almighty bang that comes from the stairway, and all the family photos come crashing off the wall. Now, I'm not being funny, but surely that massive bang crash would have woken up the girls. Anyway, Carolyn goes down the stairs and takes a look around. Things start getting rather intense, and then the basement door opens by itself. Carolyn bravely goes over to the doorway and she hears a clap, and she also hears the piano being played. She then panics, thinking that someone has broken into the house, and threatens to call the cops. But then the basement door slams shut into Carolyn's face and she ends up falling down the stairs and into the basement. She pauses while she's on the floor and realizes that there isn't actually anyone in this basement. All of a sudden, a ball comes bouncing out off one of the shelves, and Carolyn makes a run for it back up the stairs while the lights explode. The basement door is locked, and Carolyn uses a box of matches to try and see what's happening. All of a sudden, a voice in the dark says, "Hey, you wanna play hide and clap?" And then 2 arms and hands appear behind Carolyn and clap. Carolyn screams out in terror and bangs on the door for help. It's a classic moment in this movie, and it's quite often this scene is featured in many YouTube videos when talking about The Conjuring. Number 6, wardrobe attack. While Carolyn is locked up in the basement downstairs, older sister Andrea is woken up by some banging noises in the bedroom. She turns on her lamp and sees that it's her sister Cindy sleepwalking and banging her head into the creepy wardrobe. Andrea gets up and walks her sister over to bed. All of a sudden, the banging noises on the wardrobe start happening again, all on its own. Andrea walks slowly to the wardrobe to see what's happening, and Cindy wakes up on the bed. Andrea then opens up the wardrobe door, but there's nothing there. But then Cindy makes a little shriek noise. Something is on top of the wardrobe, and when Andrea looks up, it's a demonic, creepy, scary, terrifying looking creature that lets out a massive growl and jumps off the wardrobe and on top of Andrea. This is literally the stuff of nightmares. Number 5, the tape recorder. A moment in this movie that really freaked me out, and it still freaks me out to this very day, is the tape recorder scene. Ed decides to record Carolyn's ghost story of what's been happening in the house since they've moved in, and later on in the movie, Ed listens back to the recording, but the recorder only picked up his voice and not Carolyn's, which is rather odd. Ed and Lorraine then talk about the history of the house, about a witch who sacrificed her baby in a fireplace and damned anyone who ever took her land. And while they are talking, the tape recorder turns itself on, but this time, when Ed is asking Carolyn a question on the tape, we hear a terrifying load of noises, which literally sounds like groaning and wailing and growling. It literally sounds like hell on earth. It sounds like there are a load of souls in torment. I can remember it really scaring the crap out of me when I first saw it, and like I said, it still freaks me out to this very day. Number 4, CAROLYN gets possessed. Things take a terrifying turn now in our next spot. While Lorraine is helping out the Perron family by putting out their washing, all of a sudden a stormy gust of wind picks up, and one of the sheets that Lorraine is trying to hang up blows off the line and into an invisible person, before flying up towards CAROLYN's bedroom window, where CAROLYN is having a nap. When Lorraine looks up at the window, she sees someone in the bedroom, and it's not CAROLYN. CAROLYN is asleep in bed, until she lets out a massive yelp and convulses forward in the air. All of a sudden, we see this demon face looking right back at CAROLYN, and the demon then spits something disgusting into CAROLYN's mouth and she starts to choke. Lorraine runs up and bangs on the door. She can literally hear CAROLYN choking, but when CAROLYN opens up the door, she says she's fine. She was just feeling a little bit sick. Straight away, you can tell that there is something quite different about CAROLYN, and so can Lorraine. Number 3, Basement Terror. A seriously scary scene now in our next spot, and when April tells Lorraine about a little secret hideout behind the creepy wardrobe, of course Lorraine is going to investigate. She climbs in and finds a load of old toys. She then sees some rope and decides to pull on it from the broken wall, and when she pulls it completely out, she realizes that it's a noose. Lorraine then falls through the dodgy floor, and she falls all the way into the basement. While she's down there, she decides to use that creepy toy box to see if she can see any of the spirits, and she ends up hearing a crying, wailing woman. And when she turns her torch, she sees the creepy woman holding her dead son's body. The woman then turns her head and looks at Lorraine, and this woman has got a really seriously creepy looking face. Lorraine turns around, but the woman is gone, and when she turns back around, the woman is there right in front of Lorraine, telling Lorraine that she made me do it. All of a sudden, a hanging body appears with just its legs in view. The body then turns around and starts coming towards Lorraine, and Lorraine understandably freaks out and makes a run for it up the stairs. It's a very, very scary scene, and this is the scene that actually made me scream out when I first saw it in the cinema, and trust me guys, not many horror films have done that to me before. Number 2, JUDY'S attacked by Annabelle. In the movie, Lorraine gets a very scary premonition of her daughter Judy dead in the water, and she feels that it was a warning from the evil spirit in the parents' house. While Judy is asleep being looked after by her grandmother, all of a sudden something grabs her foot and wakes her up. Judy then climbs out of bed and looks around the house looking for her mother and father, thinking that they might be home by now. She goes down the stairs and notices that the door to the haunted museum is open. We can see that Annabelle isn't in her box, and when Judy goes to run up the stairs, all of a sudden the lights start to turn dark with a creepy growling noise. Judy then runs into the living room and closes the door, but something starts banging on the door very loudly. All of a sudden the light goes out and the camera then pans around to see what's behind Judy, and we see some creepy woman rocking in the rocking chair brushing Annabelle's hair. Judy then starts banging on the door and calls for her grandmother, and Ed and Lorraine get home just in time to save Judy. What I love about this movie is how creepy and genuinely scary the music and the sound effects are. It really does creep you out and gives you the feeling of dread. Before we get to number 1, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We currently upload new videos every week and we are really looking to grow this channel, so make sure to hit that notification bell as well. Number 1, the final battle. CAROLYN is possessed by this demon and she tries to kill her daughter Christine with a pair of scissors. It's a horrifying scene. Luckily, Ed and Lorraine and the team of people manage to stop CAROLYN just in time, and then they tie her to a chair where Ed decides he is going to have to perform an exorcist on CAROLYN if she's to have any chance in surviving this possession. When Ed starts the exorcism, CAROLYN lets out a horrifying shriek that literally literally shakes the whole basement. At one point, the chair that Carolyn is sitting on starts to float in the air and turns itself upside down before throwing Carolyn onto the floor. Carolyn then lets off some horrible, scary laughs, and at this point, Carolyn literally just looks like a demon. It's terrifying. Carolyn then makes a run for it through the basement and under the house where daughter April is hiding. It's a really insane moment where Carolyn actually grabs April, and it honestly looked like that Carolyn was about to kill her. But Lorraine reminds Carolyn of the good times that she had with her children and reminds her about the day on the beach. Carolyn then fights this possession and eventually manages to break a hold of it. She ends up vomiting up the things that the demon spat in her mouth, and she returns back to the living. It's quite an emotional scene, and despite how messed up this final scene is, you can't help but shed a tear, and it's not often I can say that about a horror film. And that was 10 moments from the 2013 movie The Conjuring. So guys, do we have any Conjuring fans here? Did this film scare the pants off you when you first saw it? Let me know all your first experiences of this movie in the comments box below. Okay guys, well thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe, and I'll see you all again very soon.